December 2024, Bashar al-Assad boarded a flight to Moscow under the cover of darkness. Syria's longtime ruler, once Iran's closest ally, had finally fallen. His departure marked a moment of quiet but monumental collapse, a symbolic end to Iran's influence in Syria and perhaps the Middle East itself. For years, Tehran had propped up Assad, using Syria as a critical lifeline to funnel weapons and resources to its proxies like Hezbollah. Syria was Iran's power corridor, a bridge between its ambitions and the militant networks it controlled. But when Assad fell, that bridge crumbled. The corridor closed. Iran was left scrambling, its grip on the region loosening with every passing day. The fall of Assad wasn't just the loss of a strategic ally, it was a message. Iran's dominance could be broken. But how did it come to this? How did a nation that once projected power across the region watch its entire network unravel? To answer that, we need to look back at everything Tehran has lost in 2024. At the start of the year, Iran's ambitions were riding high. Tehran had pinned its hopes on Hamas and its operations in Gaza. For Iran, Hamas was a symbol of resistance and defiance, a frontline weapon to challenge Israel without direct engagement. But when the conflict escalated, Tehran's plan fell apart. Israel's response was unrelenting. Entire neighborhoods turned to rubble. Hamas command centers, tunnels, and weapons caches, painstakingly supported by Iran, were systematically wiped out. By mid-2024, Gaza was no longer a stronghold. It was a ruin. The devastation wasn't just physical. Hamas leadership was decimated, its fighters killed or captured, and its infrastructure reduced to dust. Tehran, the supposed champion of the Palestinian cause, could do nothing but watch as its ally crumbled. Gaza became a glaring symbol of Iran's powerlessness. While Gaza burned, Iran's most powerful proxy, Hezbollah, faced its own reckoning. The cracks began to show on September 27, 2024, when Israel eliminated Hassan Nasrallah in a precision airstrike. Nasrallah's assassination sent Hezbollah spiraling into chaos. Israel wasted no time exploiting Hezbollah's weakness. Strikes targeted the group's communication systems, supply lines, and weapons caches. Without Syria as a support corridor, thanks to Assad's fall, Hezbollah was left isolated, struggling to regroup. For decades, Hezbollah had been Iran's most prized creation, a militant force paraded as Israel's greatest adversary. But in 2024, that illusion shattered. Leaderless, fractured, and unable to sustain its operations, Hezbollah became a symbol of Iran's fading influence. Tehran's promises of power now rang hollow. If losing its proxies wasn't enough, Iran's humiliation was brought home with devastating strikes deep inside its own borders. On October 2024, Israeli fighter jets penetrated Iranian airspace, striking Tehran's nuclear planetary mixers and missile production facilities. These facilities were critical to Iran's ballistic missile program, the backbone of its military deterrence. The strikes were surgical and devastating. Years of work and billions of dollars were wiped out in moments. Iran's air defense systems, once touted as impenetrable, failed spectacularly. Tehran was exposed, vulnerable, and humiliated before the world. Mossad's intelligence capabilities were undeniable. Iran's deepest secrets, its nuclear ambitions, its defenses, were laid bare and systematically dismantled. The strikes weren't just about military infrastructure. They were about humiliation. Tehran's enemies had penetrated its borders, leaving its leadership scrambling for answers. By the end of 2024, the network Iran had spent decades building lay in ruins. Syria. Assad's fall severed Tehran's most critical corridor to Lebanon and beyond. Gaza. Hamas was decimated, leaving Iran's dream of Palestinian resistance in tatters. Hezbollah, Iran's strongest proxy, became leaderless and ineffective, unable to recover. Iran itself, devastating strikes on its soil exposed Tehran's weaknesses and stripped away its defense. The axis of resistance is no longer a threat. It was a cautionary tale. Iran had invested everything into its proxies, its militant networks, and its military ambitions. And 2024 proved how fragile those investments were. One by one, Tehran's cards fell, leaving it isolated and weakened. 2024 will go down as the year Iran's ambitions unraveled. Don't forget to subscribe for more Middle East news.